We do all our meetings. We start it with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if I could ask Colin to lead us, please, in the pledge.
Sure. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic in which it stands. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry. Which it stands. I forgot it now.
One nation.
One nation, under God, indivisible, with oh man, this is embarrassing. Liberty and justice for all. Apologies.
You caught it.
All right. Thanks, Colin.
You're off guard there, Bob.
Okay, man. All right. So I'd like to welcome everybody to our Radnor Township Design Review Board meeting. We have a little shorter agenda than the last couple months, so hopefully we'll get this wrapped up pretty quickly. But we have two applications that have come back under old business. So our first one is DRB 2021-03. It's the application at Custom Finishers at 550 East Lancaster Avenue in Wayne for a wall sign. Custom Finishers, Jones Signs.
Yes, hi, Diane Quigley with Custom
Oh,
Finishing.
hi, Diane. How you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
Good. Thanks for coming back to see us.
Of course, thank you. So we redesigned this based on the comments from the last design review board meeting. We aligned it with the Old Navy sign, same height. We centered it over the entrance to the TJ Maxx and put it on a background like Old Navy's is.
I know that was one of the comments from our board the last time was the placement of the sign, the centering of the sign and the height of the sign or where it laid on the building. So,
Diane, it's hard to see. What is the actual backing?
It's an aluminum back, panel, and then
Okay.
they're now affixed to that.
And that would project 3 inches off the wall, and then the sign would project another 3 inches?
No, it's,
If I look at the side view on page 1.
yeah, I see what you're saying. It does, yes, it looks to be 6 inches.
Okay. And what color are you proposing the background to be? Behind the sign? It's gray?
Red.
Oh, it's all red.
Yeah,
It's
that's
red.
right.
Red and the letters are white.
So it's not exactly the same size as the backing panel behind the Old Navy sign.
No, it's not as wide. It's not as long. It doesn't span as much of the,
Actually, it'd be better if the Old Navy would take their backing off and then.
Well, I think that's a
mind.
framed section of the building that they
Yeah,
and wrapped in ephes or something, so.
Diane, at nighttime then, when that sign is illuminated, what are we going to see?
only the white letters.
Only the white letters. Okay. The rest will be black, correct? Okay.
You won't see the red.
What do you guys feel about the placement of the sign then, the alignment with the Old Navy sign?
well, it looks by the lines, they've aligned the Old Navy and white with the TJ Maxx, red and white.
Correct.
Okay.
Do you have to get approval for this from the landlord?
I believe we have that, but we have to go to the zoning board.
Yeah, it exceeds the 15-foot height requirement. And Diane, not only that, it exceeds the 60 square footage. So you've got two things you're gonna have to bring before the
Yes.
zoning hearing board. So, other than those two areas are gonna have to get cleaned up from the zoning hearing board, do we see any other problems with the sign? Any comments?
I mean, I hate to be so negative, Diane, but it just seems like we're just placing it on the facade, whereas Home Goods or Home Sense and Old Navy, took the effort and made a sign, I don't know, billboard, if you will, on the building.
Home Sense down there, what do you mean? They just put theirs on a backer panel also. They
Yeah,
didn't cut out of the
I guess I'm
facade.
referencing Old Navy more, so I apologize.
So what this would come down to, this would be more of a brand standard than a looking for a certain look, where a TJ Maxx can't have a super sophisticated sign because they're selling a bargained product, where if they go in there and look like a Nordstrom's, it defeats the point of their marketing.
I don't agree with that argument, but
That's, that is not a good.
I mean, but they've had
That's
this
just
TJ
about
Maxx
saying,
sign
well,
underneath for
If you do
years.
the product that you're gonna be selling here, you can make the place look bad. That logic does not fly.
I'm sorry, what was that comment?
Tim, I didn't hear it either.
Yeah. Tim, was that you that made the last comment?
Can you hear me or?
I didn't hear you.
Can you repeat what you just said?
Tim, I think we heard you. It was just a little muffled.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, I was just saying the logic of the product inside is going to be a lesser quality product that you can make the design look poorer or not as nice. That logic does not fly.
What about it would you change? Because we brought it in line. We centered it over the entrance. So what about it would you change further?
I don't want to put words into Colin's mouth, but it sounds like what he's saying there is it goes back to the actual building itself. And that what Home Depot, or excuse me, what Old Navy and Home Sense did, while Home Sense, it's on the facade itself, it's a new facade that was designed for that building just specifically now. Whereas Old Navy then changed the facade of the building to make it such that there is a location for the sign. I think that's what Colin's saying. I'm not so sure that you can do much more with that location without doing that type of renovation to the building.
yeah, I mean, without, a major renovation, we're asking for a lot from you. So I don't know if we can or not. I think this is more, aesthetically, does the board want this sign, on this facade as you display it? So, I think if we say we're in agreement with it, I think you'll get favorable response from zoning, because Old Navy got some consideration for the height. So
Yeah.
ultimately, I think it's up to us to say yay or nay, but I don't know where we're at as a board.
But if Old Navy did this redesign and Home Sense is a new tenant and they made it look nicer and we stay the way we were, aren't we still not sort of aesthetically blending in with the rest of it? I mean, we're trying to, update it, clean it up, make it look a little nicer. Because you said that sign's been there forever. So maybe it looks a little dingy, if you know what I mean, if you look in the photos.
No, and I think this is something that we talked about when the Old Navy Home Sense came in there. We did comment about, what's going to happen with TJ Maxx. And I think it was a punt at that point in time. And well, now we're here at the other end of the punt.
Well,
In terms of,
I think maybe a compromise would be, a backer that kind of looked like, a separate structure, if you will be, like an outline, a border around your sign.
I think what you're saying is you want a white outline around the red.
I don't know if that's something we can ask for or not, but I think it would help, with the
If
look.
you could be clear, because I have to go back again, and I want to come back with what you want to see.
Yeah.
I can't.
I want to
change the
just,
building.
I think we want to just approve it, but it's a difficult application.
Well, I think the problem is that I think what we would think aesthetically would make, it would be really nice if the TJ Maxx, even though it's red and white, was sitting on a similar white frame as the Old Navy. So then
Yeah.
the two signs would look, well, they would continue the look, am I getting too in the weeds here? You know what I mean? This isn't Nantucket, I know, I mean, but it's like, then you would have two signs that look
But
similar.
then they
Whereas
wouldn't look like
now-
Home Sense. They wouldn't look like Home Sense. Then they would look.
Yeah, but they're like off the side.
No, the building.
You're
itself
sitting,
is-
you're sitting on the same plane. These two, the Old Navy and the TJ Maxx sit on the same plane of the building. That Home Sense sign, which you can't even see, is sort of back over there. Well, the only thing is we can all say is that I don't think you can see any of these signs from Lancaster Avenue because of the grade of
Sure
the
you
property.
can. I went out and took photos, which I
Oh,
also
okay.
submitted.
I guess I
You
don't.
can see them from the road now.
Oh, you can. I was that in
Yeah, they
there.
must have cleared something out because you can really see them.
Oh,
Diane, how much of a hardship is it if you were to come before our board next month with a slightly different plan? I mean, what's the timeline for TJ Maxx?
It's not, Bob, that's not the problem. It's just if you guys could be clear about what you want. I feel like I did what they asked last time.
Mhm.
And now that Old Navy is not on a backer. Those are slats. They're like, I don't know how to describe them. Don, do you know? Can you be more technical? They're like slats, and depending on the angle you're looking at it, it's blue or it's white. If you're straight on,
It's like a louvered structure.
uh-huh.
Sorry for disappearing. I had some computer issues here.
Well, let's make a final decision from the
I
board.
submitted some photos that show that that's really like a louver structure, and depending on the angle, the color of it.
I mean, we have to remember as a board, we're not sign designers. We're
mhm.
here to uphold the code book. So
Okay.
we're not in that business. We're in the business of, like I say, making sure that the signs meet code, the code of Radnor Township. So, I mean, Diane's come back with a sign. Yeah, I'll just get more feedback from you guys. Tell me what you think. I mean,
I hear you, Bob. We also have to be responsible in terms of
Yeah.
the aesthetics.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, I don't know what more to say. You know, the only thing I might add is that, you know, your night view on page 1.0, Diane, you have a
Yes.
night view on the bottom right corner. You know, if that night view darker image was like a white surround or a border, I think that might be a good compromise, but then your sign grows.
Do you want that lit up? Do you want that to show?
I'm not asking specifically. I'm just throwing suggestions
No,
out.
but then I'll come
The
back and
board
you'll
as a
tell
group,
me,
as a committee. So
you'll tell me it should light up or it shouldn't light up. I
Yep.
need direction.
Kevin, do you want some input?
Thanks, Bob. You know, my thought is, I know there's some additional concerns about what this board may want to look at. So if you were inclined to continue to next month, that, you know, not just take these, because I think that the latest revisions are improvement over what we saw previously, but to take this as option one, what we have now, bring an alternative, and then next month you look at the two alternatives and then go from there. But not to complete, because it sounds like the board likes the direction that this moved in, but there could be some minor tweaks. But without seeing the minor tweaks, there's a little bit of hesitancy to, you know, move in that direction with a final recommendation.
I tell you what I'd like to see, and I think I mentioned this last time, was to have, because it's again here, just kind of the way that on the bottom of the page, how TJ Maxx is looking in the white box with the red lettering. I don't know how that would look on the building, but I think that might be something where it does then give that more a more similar look to the neighboring Old Navy sign while not being the same. Then that's I don't know.
So you would like red letters on a white background?
Yeah, if you just switch the coloring, I think that might be. I'm not sure how that would look because I don't see it here, but I think that might be something that might hit the right spot.
I think what we're looking for is the white around the Old Navy to somehow be put over at the TJ Maxx sign too. And that would be an,
What is the current TJ Maxx sign on the stone? Is that red?
no, I
White.
think it's gray or something.
If I do that though, I can't maintain the
Your
TJ Maxx
brand.
at the same height as the Old Navy. If I put it now on a white background, it's gonna go up.
Not knowing what it was existing in this Old Navy location prior to this, it looks like Old Navy lucked out having that white border facade from an existing facade
Bed Bath
structure.
and Beyond. It was Bed Bath and Beyond.
Yeah, they did a comprehensive facade renovation, which came before the board probably a year and a half ago.
Okay, so they were able to add that white border to their sign.
Yes.
They built that into the actual
Okay,
side of
so-
it.
So they were able to take their square footage, add an additional white border facade to it, and that was acceptable.
Well, they changed the actual building so that white was part of it. The white didn't count towards the sign.
And it-
Well,
and
that's-
again, that had to go to the zoning hearing board for approval, again, because of the height and size.
Right, and it looks like it sits lower. It looks like the opening there is lower than what we have at the TJ Maxx location by a foot or so.
Yeah.
Well, again, Diane,
I think Tim was onto something there. If Diane's okay with that approach, a white background with red letters could solve our problems.
what do you
And
think? Diane?
Diane, when you lit it up at night, it'd be red sign.
Red letters, right?
Red letters.
Correct.
Well, what are your thoughts there, Diane?
I mean, I can certainly have them do that and bring that back as an option. And then maybe an option with even a white frame around what we have here. I just don't know if they can maintain, if I do that, I don't know if they can maintain that same height.
Why?
Because it's gonna add, if we write.
Just change the red backer to white and the letters.
No, I'm saying, and then if that's an option, but also the other option you spoke of was framing it with a white.
I think we would be okay with losing that idea of framing it. Just change the background to white and the letters red. I think we could probably just approve that now, don't you think? And then she could take that to zoning. Unless you have to go to your client to.
I
We
can,
do.
we do.
I think it'd be safer if Diane comes back next month with one or two options for us to take a look at. And I mean, they have signage up there now. It's just another month down the road.
Mhm,
And
that's true.
I think all parties it'll be safer for everybody involved and yeah. So if you're agreeable to that, Diane, can we go that direction?
Yeah, thanks, Bob. That's
Okay.
good. I'll come back.
Right.
Okay. All right. So Tim, you want to start it off? We'll make a motion to continue.
Yeah, absolutely.
And before we start, Kevin, is that okay with you?
Yeah, but I think that's fine if the applicant's willing to do that so that the board has a comfort level. Absolutely.
Okay, great. Thanks, Kevin. All right, appreciate that.
In the
Okay.
matter of DRB 2021-03 for the application of a wall sign at 550 East Lancaster Avenue, I move to continue this matter.
Okay, do we hear a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Diane, thanks. Sorry about that. We'll look forward to
Okay,
seeing you. And
Bob, I'm not going anywhere. I'm the next one, too.
oh, you're the next one. Okay, just to let you know, the next meeting is June 9th,
Okay, all right.
and you need to get your plans in by May 19th. So you have 9 days to talk to TJ Maxx, so.
Okay.
All right. Okay, next on the agenda is DRB 2021-16. Again, it's a continuation from last month. It's the Tire Choice Auto Service at 362 West Lancaster Avenue in Wayne for a rebranding of the building. So Diane,
Okay, this I hope is a lot simpler because you guys didn't like the painted blue band that ran around the whole length of the building.
Yeah.
And we got rid of it and just mounted the letters to the building itself. Now, there was an existing painted band that was yellow that we are going to change to blue. Hopefully that's okay, because I think it would look worse if it stayed yellow.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that blue band.
That looks really good too.
Yeah,
Okay, good. All right,
nice
so,
little accent on the building. Yeah,
yeah.
And
we
it
just-
goes with the blue door and everything.
Mhm, and the awning getting painted
Yeah,
and there, yeah.
okay. So, so the signage under the goosenecks, is that the exact same signage as you had last month?
Look real quick. I thought it was a different color. It was white because it was on a blue background. It was
It was white on a blue
White.
background.
Yeah.
white on a blue background. Now it's blue
Yeah.
on the building. Yeah, it was a different color.
Okay, same size.
Yeah, they just changed it because you wouldn't have seen the white.
Okay. Now, the signage by the entry door, looks like you changed that completely to style. You're gonna put a new awning up and then,
It's smaller. Yeah, it doesn't say auto service center anymore. They lost that. It just says tire choice.
Mhm.
Yeah,
and that actually square footage is a little smaller.
mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, and your square footage falls within the boundaries of that building, so you're good there.
Yes, we're not going to the board on this one.
No need to on that, so,
Mm-mm.
okay.
And it's mounted at a below 15 feet, so everything's,
Other comments and questions from the board?
I think it's an
I really
elegant solution.
appreciate you taking go ahead, please.
I think it's a great solution.
Okay.
No, I appreciate listening to our comments last time.
Of course. Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, the monument sign, I think we're okay with that.
That was just a reface. Yeah, we didn't have any issues with that last time.
Yeah, that'll be opaque at night. It'll be blacked out.
Right, correct.
And I think we talked about the trash last week and Andy Panko said that the township will
I
be,
did pass those comments along.
yeah, they need to clean that back up a little bit. Diane, maybe one thing you could tell the applicant too, just to make sure the address number is prominent on the building or on the door,
Yes.
in emergency. What else, guys? Comments? I think it's a big improvement,
Yes.
especially for a neighborhood setting like that. And Diane, if you're speaking with the tenant, window signage, they're only allowed up to 20% of the available window signage.
Okay. I'm making,
Sometimes they'll put posters in there.
yes.
And no A-frame sandwich boards outside.
Mhm. Okay.
What else, guys? Comments, questions?
I think it's good.
Looks good. Yeah, I think it looks good.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Diane, any other questions for the board?
No, thank you, Bob. I'm good.
Okay, great. Colin, you want to take this one?
Yes, sir. The matter of DRB 2021-16 Tire Choice Auto Service at 362 West Lancaster Avenue for a rebranding, facade renovation, new signage, sign, motion to approve.
Here a second?
Seconded.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, great. Thank you, Diane.
Thanks, Bob. Thank you, everyone.
You have any more on tonight's agenda or not?
I'm gonna go now.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, next is DRB 2021-30, the application of Brandywine Realty Trust at 250 King of Prussia Road in Wayne for a facade renovation.
Yes, good evening. Bob Tucker here, representing the applicant. With me this evening is a representative from the applicant, Joseph Trainer, and our architect, Kyle Foth. If it's possible, could somebody give Kyle the ability to share his screen so we can go through the presentation? And we're here this evening seeking approval of the proposed design for the facade renovation for the building, the existing building at 250 King of Prussia Road.
Mhm.
I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Trainer to kind of give a broad overview of what his objectives are, and then Kyle to go through his PowerPoint presentation. With
Great.
that, I'll turn it over to Joe.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, everyone, for your time tonight. As Bob mentioned, I'm Joe Trainer with Brandywine. We're here tonight seeking your approval for the proposed facade renovation at 250 King of Prussia Road. You're probably aware or familiar with the building as the old Penn Medicine facility. We purchased the property from them in late 2020 after they moved to their new facility down the road at 145 King of Prussia Road. If you're familiar with the building, you're probably also familiar with the current tired state of the existing facade. The building is mostly vacant, and we intend to make certain repairs and renovations in order to re-tenant the building. The most notable of which, and what we're here seeking approval for tonight, is a replacement of the existing facade with a new glass storefront and window wall system. So I'll turn it over to Kyle Foth from Radnor Architects. He's our lead designer on the project, and he'll take you through the proposed design, and we'll be able to answer any questions.
Great. Thanks, Joe.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear my audio?
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you. Again, Kyle Foth. I'm a principal and registered architect with Radnor Design located in Philadelphia. I don't know if Bob or Joe, if you wanted to preface the PDF that we're looking at on the screen, dated revised May 12th, has a few revisions over the packet that was submitted to the township on April 1st before I get started.
Yeah, I would just recommend Kyle to
Okay.
note where the revisions are. They're just
Okay.
a few minor ones.
Yeah.
So yeah, just note it, for the board as they arise.
Okay, very good. I'll go through and give a summary of what we're looking at, and if I'm being redundant because folks have already gone through the packet, please feel free to hurry me up or stop me along the way if there are questions. I'd like to give a high-level overview, and then of course come back and zoom in on anything that folks would like to talk about. Starting off with a couple of existing photographs for anyone unfamiliar with the building. This is an aerial view looking from King of Prussia Road down onto the building. As Joe mentioned earlier, building originally built in about 1959 as a corporate headquarters. And over the last 60 years, there have been a number of additions and renovations that have happened to the building. So it is mostly a two-story building with a portion of the building that rises 2 floors above that for a total of 4 stories above grade. A few existing photographs around the building. It's very much a 1950s vintage building. It's mostly constructed out of stucco. It's a steel frame building with stucco, brick veneer, stone veneer, and of course glazing wherever you see glass around the building. And the primary reasons that Joe mentioned earlier, a significant facade reskin really to bring the building back to marketability and really to increase the thermal efficiency and sustainability of the envelope. The existing insulation and glass on the building is past its useful life, and we're going to make it significantly better when it's being reskinned. So these are just a few images walking sort of clockwise around the building so you get a sense of how it sits today. It's an orange brick, it's a beige colored stucco at the roof line, and then the tower above is an old bronze aluminum glass system. The next several images are some proposed concept renderings showing what's being proposed for the reskinning of the building. And I'll walk through what you're looking at in each image, and please feel free to stop me and ask questions along the way. This first eye level view is if we pull off King of Prussia Road into the main entrance to the site. So where you approach the building today, or as it sat for the last number of years as Penn Medicine's facility, this is the southeast corner. The existing entry to the building on the ground floor today is going to remain where it is. We're repurposing that entrance. But this view starts to give you a sense of what the facade will look like post renovation. you'll see that we're not inherently changing the footprint or the structure of the building. Most of it is replaced in kind with new floor to ceiling glass. One of the biggest challenges the building had was a 5-foot sill all the way around the first and second floor. So you imagine standing inside the building, there was a window sill almost at eye level. So we're removing all the glazing around the building on all 4 floors, and that's going to be replaced with a 12.5-foot window line on the first and second floor to bring a much more daylight into the building. And of course, the glass that we use nowadays, the low E coatings are worlds more efficient than the glass that's on the building today.
Are they bird-friendly glass?
So the coating that we're going to use on the glass has some reflectivity to it. The problem with birds is when they don't see a reflection, or the reflection is so mirror-like that they see sky reflected beyond them. That's when they have issues with birds running into the glass.
Yeah.
So we use a coating that sits a happy medium between being semi-reflective but not mirror-like. So we're very aware of that. We've had some issues in Philadelphia. So by default now we spec glass that is sensitive to that. This is just an evening view, just to give you a sense of how the building presents itself after hours. Of course, with much more glazing, there's going to be more visibility into the building after hours, and site lighting around the main entrance of the building is going to be upgraded as well. This is a close-up view as you approach the main entrance on the ground floor, which is a floor that's partially buried in grade. So again, I mentioned this is where the existing entrance to the building is today. It's going to stay the existing entrance to the entrance to the building. All the areas that you see as stone veneer, that's an existing stone veneer that we're going to keep all of that's on the building. It's a very nice field stone that we're gonna do our best to keep it wherever we can. So none of that's going to be demoed. Most of the demo is happening on the second floor, where you notice there was that very high brick sill. That's going to come down and be replaced with glass. And then anywhere that we need to infill is a new aluminum metal panel system, a composite aluminum system. I'll make a note as well. The roof line of the second floor of the building, which is contiguous the whole way around that second floor roof, is an existing EFIS system that we're going to keep. We're going to retain that. It's going to be patched, repaired, and repainted. This view is the opposing corner of the building. So the northwest corner, this is sitting right at the intersection where King of Prussia Road meets Radnor Road. So if you're approaching that intersection, driving south and sort of looked off to your right, this is a view of the building. A couple things to note here. Again, you see this second floor portion of the building, which is now sitting on grade, is floor to ceiling glass, about a 12.5 foot roof glass line. You can see the third and fourth floor of the tower beyond. This is one area I want to make note of a revision between the packet that was submitted initially and where we are today. A few things have changed as the design progressed, so I want to call them out to the board so everybody understands. The third and fourth floor in the original packet, we were originally intending to do those 2 floors with a complete curtain wall system that spanned from the second floor to the roof line. That has since been revised to a metal panel system that exists at the floor line, and then a glass system that sits in between from floor to floor. So the amount of vision glass on the building has not changed. It's the same glass from the floor to the ceiling, but the interstitial space between the floor lines is now being clad in an aluminum panel system. And the primary driver for that was, as we progressed the design, there was a desire to make the look and feel of the tower match the vocabulary of what's happening in the 2-story portion of the building. So we have that very strong horizontal band of that existing roof line. So there was a desire to make the tower beyond match a little bit better and not feel like it was a separate building that was all glass, sort of a glass box sitting beyond. So that was one change. Is that clear to everybody, that
Yes.
change? Okay. The other thing I wanted to make note of, there in the packet that was submitted, we show a roof screen around almost the entire portion of the second floor roof. Obviously, that roof is very low. So as you're around the site, whether you're on King of Prussia or Radnor Road, given that it's a one-story building, there's a lot of visibility onto the roof. So there's a contiguous screen that's going to be constructed to shield any rooftop equipment. There was also one shown on the third and fourth or story portion of the building on that fourth floor roof that has since been removed. We've done some sightline studies, and the feeling is that there's equipment up there today that's not screened, and it's much less visible, if at all, just because of the sight lines of the building looking up towards that high portion. So the ownership feels it's not necessary. So that has been removed as part of this packet. So those are two changes that if you're looking at the submitted packet versus what's on my screen, but wanted to make everybody aware of that. The final page is a set of scalable elevations. Again, at the request of the township checklist, these are 16 scale elevations of all four sides of the building. If anybody wants to be looking or talking about floor to floor heights, roof heights, or anything like that, but it also gives you a sense of the full scale of the renovation. There is a material elevation legend on here with a sheet that follows that had pictures of the proposed finishes, which I'll go over in a minute. Are any questions thus far or things that I could clarify?
No.
Okay, great. The last page here were the proposed finish materials, and I'll just go through these as well, and we can reference back and forth to the renderings if anybody has questions on where these are being used. I'm happy to talk at length about them. The field stone veneers, I mentioned, that's an existing stone that's on the building today, and everywhere that exists, we're going to keep it. So that's not a new material that's being introduced. The W4, the stucco around the second floor roof line, that's existing to remain. The work that we're going to do is patch it and repair it anywhere that it's degraded, and we're going to paint it a light gray or sort of a warm white color that's indicated in the renderings. The third material is face brick. So all the brick on the first and second floor of the building is coming off. There are significant portions of brick around the back side of the third and fourth floor tower. There's an underground parking garage. So there's a lot of brick that is sort of sitting beneath that third and fourth floor tower that we can't remove and we're not going to clad over. So any of that exposed orange brick, the plan is to paint that with a metallic elastomeric paint so that it matches some of the other new finishes that are being proposed on the building. And that's really just to modernize the look of the brick and make it match some of the new finishes. It's a very, very orange and yellow brick, so it has a very dated feel. So there's a desire to make it match some of the newer finishes. The finishes along the bottom row here are new finishes that are going on the building as part of the reskin. That front view of the new entrance, there was a brown wall that you noticed right next to the main entry door. That's a porcelain tile rain screen facade system. So it goes up and is installed very much like a metal panel system you're familiar with, but it's actually made out of porcelain tile. So it has sort of a stone look, and the color is indicative of a weathered steel. There's also a canopy above the main entrance, and the fascia of that canopy will be clad in a white metal panel, but the underside, the soffit of that, where you saw on the rendering some wood look material, that's an aluminum panel that has a printed screen print of a wood image on it. So it's not real wood. There's a lot of issues with using real wood on the exterior. So as you all know, they make very, very convincing synthetic products these days. So that's an aluminum panel that mimics the look of an oak wood. The last two materials, W1, that's a composite aluminum panel system. You might know it by names like Alucobond or Rainobond. So on the ground level of the second floor, where we do have to remove brick and put something back in its place to cover up exposed structure, the idea is to use this light gray or warm white colored aluminum panel. And then the last material is a corrugated roof screen panel. So where I was talking about that second floor roof, where we have a contiguous roof screen around the entire portion of that, that's going to be a corrugated roof screen panel, which is going to be a painted aluminum finish, and the exact color tone of that gray will be decided on when the rest of the materials are selected and will color match. That's a good overview. I'm happy to go back and talk in more detail about anything. Bob or Joe, anything that I missed that you wanted to touch on?
One just quick point of clarification, and I apologize, I meant to mention this in the beginning. On this property, we have the building renovation. That's what we're here seeking approval on for the new facade of the building renovation. If you saw on one of the earlier images, we also are working through the process of approval for adding a garage. That's not what we're here for tonight. We're working through zoning and land development and so forth on the garage. If we are granted those approvals, we'll be back here for the garage, but the intent is that the garage materials will match and speak directly to the materials proposed on the building renovation.
The plan looks really nice. I guess you guys will come back and pass another visit, I guess, when tenants go in and signage goes up, and maybe at that time we could look at a landscaping plan and parking lights or outside parking lot lights, I should say. So, but like you said, we're here to focus on the building tonight. So is there some comments from our board and questions from our board?
Well,
Jane, Colin?
Well, you just covered it. I was saying where the tenant signs. So obviously they come back for those. All right. So that 250 KOP address is just a placeholder.
Yeah, so on the signage, and to answer your question, Bob, related to landscape and exterior lighting, that we would do with the garage, because that's really kind of the exterior site portion of the building. The signage, yes, the 250 KOP is just a placeholder for now. We will likely, and we haven't gotten there yet, but we'll be back to you when we have signage for approval.
Okay.
I don't foresee anything that will be needing, say, zoning relief today on, or I don't foresee it today, anything will need zoning relief on signage wise. But as we re-tenant the building, as we bring tenants on, signage will potentially be a component, and as needed, we'll come back for approval. And we'll also have, we'll be replacing the existing monument signs that are there just for, new branding. So we'll certainly be back for those as well.
Because you're not selling fried chicken.
No.
First thing popped in my head. I go, "Oh." Sorry about that. Yeah.
Colin, Tim, questions, comments?
I appreciate the presentation.
I like
I think it looks really nice.
Yeah.
Look forward to seeing the project when it's completed. I think this is
Yeah.
a really nice upgrade.
I do too.
Is there, with that new Penn Medicine building and your colors using a lot of grays, was there a thought to try to pick up some of the colorization at new Penn Medicine building on your building, or is that just the hot color in today's world?
So I can speak a little bit to that because Kyle and his team from NOR weren't the design team down the road, but at the new Penn Medicine facility, it's a much darker tone. And when we did set out to look at this building renovation, one of the early schemes Kyle proposed was carrying those darker tones, but it didn't feel right for this building. It seemed a little too dark. So we've actually gone more on the lighter side, and also adding a lot of these, with the wood look metal panel, with the porcelain tile, rain screen, getting a little bit more warmth.
Because the main picture looks very black, but then when you look at the others, it doesn't look that black. It looks much lighter, which I like better.
Mhm.
The first one is very dark.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
you're
seeing mostly roof in that image as well.
Yeah,
But
I figured, God, that's
no,
it.
the facade is going to be very, very light, and part of that is keeping in line with the vintage of the building today. It's very light in color, and we're trying to keep with that the mid-century feel of the building. There's something nice about, it's a little bit unlike most of the other corporate office buildings that are near it, which we've tried to take advantage of, and like I said, retain some portions of the building that are from that era and really just improve on it. And part of that is, I think, is a facade, which I think will work very well.
I like it.
I've got just one other question about the glass.
Sure.
I know there's neighbors on the other side of King of Prussia Road. When that sun is setting, I guess you're going to get a lot of reflection on the one side of the building, and the neighbors are right across the street. Is there much reflection off that glass?
There's, well, I guess much is sort of a subjective term, but what I would say is not, how do I say this? No is the short answer. We've gone away from using glass that is extremely reflective. So in other words, it does not have a mirror tint. It does not have a bright silver or blue tint. It has a very muted gray or clear texture to it. So it is reflective, but I personally have no concern with a reflection or a glare being problematic across the street or anywhere nearby.
Okay.
And I would say that the vintage of the buildings that are near it, that are existing, have much more reflective glass than this building will have. So in some ways, the concern could go the other way.
Good. Okay, great.
Did that answer the question?
Yeah, no, it does. And I'm dating myself when I say this, but the building, and I believe you guys own it, where Fleming's is, the big building on Route 30, when that was built probably 45 years ago, that had tremendous sun glare. People driving up and down Route 30, it was a major problem. I'm sure that glass has been changed since then. But when that first went up, I kind of remember that. It was almost blinding at a certain angle driving up 30 or coming down 30. So
I can say that this glass will be significantly less reflective than that.
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of improvements have been made over the years since then. So, okay. All right, I have no further comments or questions. Colin?
Yeah, I have no comment. I mean, it was a great presentation, Kyle. Everything looks really nice. So
Yeah,
congrats.
good. Great. All right, good. Any questions from the board? Kyle? Bob, any questions? You guys are good?
Yep. Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay, so we'll see you down the road, I'm sure, for like we said, signage and things like that. So, okay. All right, good.
Okay.
Jane, if there's no further comments, can I ask you to please make a motion for approval?
Motion to approve application 2021-30, 250 King of Prussia Road, Radnor, for facade of the building
Seconded.
with the applicant will return for landscape, signage, and lighting.
There's a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, great. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
Appreciate your
everyone.
time.
See you down the line.
Thank you.
Okay. Next is DRB 2021-31, the application of Foreman Sign Company at 789 East Lancaster Avenue in Villanova for a wall sign and 2 ground signs. Okay, and I think we saw Dan earlier. There's
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm Jim Brett. So it says Dan, but I'm Jim.
okay, Jim.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so it looks like it's the wine and spirits store before us.
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right, Jim, you want to walk us through and tell us what you had in mind?
Okay, so as you can see, they were proposing really almost an exact duplicate facade sign in that it's just with the addition of the wording reading the different wording. Really, it's now fine wine and good spirits with premium collection. The existing sign reads wine and spirits premium collection. The sign on the facade is in the same vein as it is now, in that they are face-lit channel letters reading fine wine and good spirits, white faces, white LED, black sides. the bottom portion reading premium collection is itself a channel letter, if you will. It might be called a module, but the construction is the same in that it sits on the face of what we call a pan background. So that the black background is actually approximately a 2-inch deep aluminum construction on which all the letters and the module sit in a flush manner. And then the wiring and whatnot is done inside that pan. So, which is really the same exact construction as the existing sign.
Pretty cut and dry. I think it looks good.
I just have one comment. So the new sign, if you're looking at the facade pictures you presented, Jim,
Yes,
and one's on the left is the existing wine and spirits, and the one on the right is the new, right?
yes.
Could we center the sign with the opening below so it's not over to the left, hugging the column?
Yes,
I'm sure it was just placed like that because it was simple on the whatever software you were using, but
Well, it looks like the
Yes, yeah.
original sign that's there now was centered on that portion of the wall. If you look at the column up over to the next column, it's kind of centered in that section, but I agree with you. With this being a more squared off rather than rectangular look, it would look much better centered on that opening between the two columns.
yes,
yeah, I think you're right, Tim, that it would, the other one was wider, so let's split the difference and yeah.
Is
I don't know.
that-
That was just my comment. I don't know if the board agrees or
I
not.
think that's a
Good point.
great observation, Colin.
Yep.
That's a good one.
I agree too, that should be centered, but I'm also kind of, why is it over the window and not over the door?
Probably because the band's not big enough for them.
was,
I mean,
I'm not exactly sure,
it's the well-hidden liquor store. We know that. But-
right? Yeah,
Which is
And
a
I
good
think
thing. It's-
store-
you always have what
it
you want.
is. It is.
I mean, they always
Um,
have what you want.
I think the store goes into that storefront.
Oh, no, it does. It does. It just is not the doors.
It does. The sign band, the height of the sign, there's more height available on the left-hand side.
No, okay. What?
I would say the existing sign should have gone over the doors and your new sign is positioned correctly.
If you look at the entire building, the way that the entire building works with the restaurant and the post office and all the
Yeah.
other stuff, spacing the signs out works with the entire building.
Oh, no, that's fine. I was just a comment.
Yeah,
the
no,
other-
I agree with you. Where
That's fine. I think we all know where it is. It's just that
Yeah.
the funny, the other thing
Once
is
you
like,
find it the first time, you can find it the second time, but
Yeah.
finding it the first time can be difficult. The same with the post office.
the other thing is it's just me and it's not really important, but you know how the end is fine wine and then you have the end symbol?
Yes,
Good spirits. I don't know, just me, if I was doing something, I wouldn't stick it there. It's like, I would either
I
get
would
rid
even
of it.
argue, Jane, that do we even need the ampersand?
Well, I would get rid of it
Just
because
remove it completely.
yeah, I think you sit it, I know maybe you have to have it, but I think it's like, what is that? Because also that font is very graphic and it doesn't even look like what it is.
No, it looks like a butchered 6
Yeah, that's
or
what it
a
looks like.
butchered 8. It doesn't look like an ampersand.
I would get rid of it so that fine wine was centered over good spirits. That would just be me. If you have to keep that size sign and that size font.
okay, I mean, obviously, we're
I don't
gonna.
know what the state or the Commonwealth,
Yeah, I mean,
Commonwealth may not like that.
If you need to keep the ampersand in there, you can sneak an ampersand in between the lines and expand the height of the sign just slightly. Stick it in between fine wines, good spirits, have them both centered in the sign, and put the ampersand in between the two lines if you needed to find a spot for it, and just make it a small ampersand because nobody cares about the ampersand.
No one cares.
well, this,
Because right now you're right, it looks like there's a 6 on the end that someone forgot to take out or something.
it's just that, and I mean, I know what I'm gonna hear when I go back. This is how this is their branding for the entire state.
Yeah.
But I'll take it back, and we'll do what we have to do.
Or make it look more like an ampersand, you know, because it doesn't look like it now.
Or yeah, or change the font just for the ampersand.
But it's still a weird place to put it. If you were writing this, you would never stick "and" over on the end of whatever you were doing. Whatever, just me. But that's minor.
It definitely, now that you like look at it more and more, it definitely looks bad. Like
This might be revolutionary.
Simple application until we actually looked at the ampersand.
It might be-
We're the only people that would.
Right.
like anyone going there is not looking at the sign. They're going there for one thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I know the phone number by heart.
And I would argue that you probably would never see a tourist in this spirit store just because it's so hidden.
Yeah. You got to know where you're going here. But
And I'll date myself, Bob. You remember when this was Radnor Rolls, right?
Sure,
Yeah.
positively. Yeah. Mhm. Well, Jim, I guess you can always go to the state and see what they say. And
Say Radnor doesn't like that.
yeah, if they change also,
We know they don't need it.
take credit for it. So, yeah.
okay, so the suggestions are the ampersand to be deleted altogether
Mhm.
or centered in between the top and bottom and the top and middle line.
Yeah.
Make it in there. I mean, I'm not talking about like make a whole new line for that sized ampersand if we're doing it in that location.
Okay.
Just pretend you forgot about it.
So how does it work? No, seriously, in all candor, if I go back to them, I'm just the sign company locally doing the signs. But seriously, this is their brand throughout the entire state. If they object, is it kind of,
We'll have to see. You'll have to come back with a revision.
Well, I mean, what we could do here is we could make, and Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong on this one. We can approve the application with the comment that we would also approve, that we would also like it changed slightly. And if they
Okay.
make that change, then it's a conditional approval. I think we've done something like that before, Kevin, right?
Yeah, you can approve it subject to if they cannot get a change from the state, that it would be approved as submitted. So make a conditional approval with the revisions as noted. However, or condition upon should the applicant not be able to secure the suggested changes from the state, then it would be approved as submitted.
All right.
They
So
could
that
just
doesn't
say
hold
state
enough.
store too. They could just put
Yeah,
state
yeah.
store.
I remember the state store. All right, so, okay, so is it my mandate to come back in a month with the revisions that you're asking for?
What we're gonna do is we're gonna try to set you up here where you're gonna be able to go back and then once you make the changes, because I think centering it on in between that opening, that's something that's gonna be regardless of where the ampersand ends up.
Right.
So you're gonna need to do something. I think, Kevin, you're probably gonna want him to come back with the actual final drawing before the permit's issued.
In front of this board or with?
No, to you, to submit.
Correct. So when they submit the building permit applications to hang the sign, we would be looking at it at that point in time.
Okay.
But they're good to go. If the state does not want to make changes, they're good to go with what they presented tonight, correct?
That's what I'm hearing from the board.
Yeah.
As they
We
suggest.
think the state should make the change.
Okay, I'll give it my best. Thank you very
Because
much.
it does look stupid, but that's
Well,
okay.
we're putting a lot of power in the state at this point.
Yeah. Hmm.
Well, you could
Okay.
probably,
Yeah, we're
Reach Governor
basically
Wolf,
approving
right,
it as it
control
is by giving them that mandate.
okay. All right, good.
All right, well,
Jim, any other further questions for the board?
no, I
We're
don't.
good? Okay. Colin, your turn. You want to take this one?
Yeah, just how are we wording it? Approval for wall sign with the condition that the sign manufacturer consult with the state about the ampersand location prior to final submission for building permit.
And location.
And that the sign is centered on the opening between the two columns.
Yes.
Great. All right, do we hear a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. All right, thank you,
Okay.
Tim.
All right, thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye. All right, next is DRB 2021-32, the application of Baker Properties at 309 to 323 East Lancaster Avenue for a shadow box fence.
Yes, hello, this is Jeff Grossman from Baker Properties.
Hi there, how are you?
Good, good. How are you all tonight?
Good, good. Okay, so looks like you want to put a fence up between the Land Rover dealer and the we'll say the Five Guys property. We'll call it the Five Guys.
Right, yes, please.
Okay,
Mhm.
good. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about the fence and maybe even a reason for putting up that fence?
Okay. We've tried to be accommodating neighbors and good neighbors to the Land Rover dealership for many years. And unfortunately, in the past year, it's gotten worse since their new development and their new addition. They park about 20 to 30 employee parking. They take up about 20 to 30 spaces of ours every day with their employees, either sales force, administration, and service. They park in our shopping center lot and walk into the dealership. So what we're trying to do is, in a friendly way, put up a fence. They also park many vehicles towards the rear of their property. It's actually our property that they're parking on. And I would dare say there's probably 10 Land Rover vehicles parked there all the time. So what we wanted to do then is to put up a fence to hopefully stop their employees from parking in our lot.
Mhm.
We're hoping that will be at least some kind of reminder for them to not park illegally.
Mhm.
And also our tenants are very upset because obviously in these challenging times of retail, every parking space is critical, and they feel that they're being punished by the folks at Land Rover Jaguar. So that's what we're trying to achieve with this fence.
Okay, good, good. So I think we've, the members on the board have their plans in front of us. You could see that the fence that they want to put up. Do we have any comments about the fence, questions, materials?
Besides quoting Robert Frost.
I'm sorry?
I said, besides quoting Robert Frost and good fences make good neighbors.
Yeah.
Is there another method or avenue to trying to prevent the Land Rover employees from parking in these lots that can be explored rather than putting the fence up?
We've been in discussions with the ownership for at least a year or two at this point. Their feeling is that they should be able to park there illegally onto our lot. I don't think they would feel the same if I said that my customers could park on their lot illegally. I'm sure they wouldn't feel the same way. I just think they've been, it's just been an impossible situation to live with them. We've asked them repeatedly to be good neighbors and to find other parking for their employees. They fail to do so. We tell them that we're going to tow the vehicles, and they say they don't care. So we're trying our best. Like you said, a good fence makes a good neighbor. We're trying our best to also, they're parking these vehicles that are for sale. We have service vehicles in our lot. We have employee vehicles. I mean, it's become impossible. And our tenants are now, extremely, extremely upset that they're being punished on a daily basis, and we can't stop these folks. So the fence is one idea, towing is another idea. We don't know what else to do because the ownership feels that they really couldn't care less what we asked them to do, unfortunately. They're not being cooperative. They're not being good neighbors. And ever since they expanded their dealership, which we didn't fight because we wanted to be a good neighbor to them, they load and unload in our parking lot vehicles. They drive through our lot with service vehicles, which is dangerous. They, like I said, park service vehicles in our lot. They park employee vehicles in our lot. We are the de facto now lot for the auto dealership because they cram their lot with vehicles to sell. And we just feel at this point we've had enough. We've tried to be good neighbors. We've tried to be accommodating and tried to tell them, don't park here, park somewhere else. They just don't care. They just, matter of fact, one time, one of our employees was in the lot and took photos to show them that their employees were parking there, and their employees brazenly waved to this person as they drove by. It's just become a terrible situation, and we feel that the fence is at least a reminder to them that this is our property, that is your property, and let's try and at least get that clear. And we're hoping that if we make it inconvenient for these folks to come, down the hill to get to their cars, that hopefully it will eliminate this really ungodly issue for us at this point.
The grassy hill, you might say, along the Land Rover, is that all their property?
No, actually, the hill is actually mostly our property. It runs up, as you can see from the illustration of the survey, that line actually kind of cuts to the middle of the hill. So half of that property is our property. They've put park benches on that hill, which, again, it's on our property. And towards the back, they park, like I said, 6 to 8 or 10 vehicles on our back property, and have been doing so for a long, long time. We actually had the property resurveyed and found out that these 10 vehicles were on our property. And when we went to stake it, they pulled the stakes out.
And,
and so they could park their vehicles. We actually had to put bollards there to stop vehicles. They were actually, at one point some years ago, they were driving vehicles, service and or sale vehicles, into our property, coming along the line of the Chipotle, turning a right turn, and then going up the curb line onto which is still our property, but going towards their dealership. They were actually jumping the curb with their vehicles.
All right.
To park
Are you
them there.
planning to put the fence directly on the property line?
Yes, to delineate what is our property and what is their property, because these vehicles are parked on our property.
And how far
that's
will
not
the
legal.
how far will the fence project towards Lancaster Avenue?
Well, and I apologize for this, but the depiction that you see on the survey, the line is going too far. Actually, what we want to do is we want to stop the fence line at the front facade of the dealership. We would stop it there so that it would be in line with the facade of the dealership, not beyond it. So that way we wouldn't hurt or affect any sight lines leaving our property.
Yeah, I would think that you would
It'll
have
be
to get
far
the
enough
police
back.
and I would think you'd have to get Radnor Township and the police department involved in the exact stoppage point for the fence to not prevent, lines of sight.
Right, and that's fine.
Because
That's fine. We want to make sure.
as you know,
Yes.
that's a difficult left there.
Yes, and we understand that. That's our thought was, if we stop the fence at the front facade of the dealership, you still have, let's say 30 feet of clearance to pull up, and then you're beyond the fence, obviously, because you're beyond the dealership when you get to the Lancaster Avenue exit.
And your thinking is these people park along that curb line and then they walk up the grassy berm to a back door to enter their facility, I'm assuming.
Oh, yes. I mean, they're doing that all the time.
Right, but they're not, my point is they're not going to the front of the building to get access to their work.
Oh, no, they're parking along that row of parking all the way to next to the dealership, and they're walking up the hill. Yeah.
And then would you then
And then-
go all the way back to SEPTA's property line?
Well, what we're thinking of doing is putting the fence line up to the existing fence that goes to the condominiums behind us.
Uh-huh.
So we would take that fence line to that existing fence and go up, to that fence line. So that way,
You're forcing them, your cattle, shooting them to Lancaster, so it's very obvious what they're doing. That's your intent.
I mean, we're exasperated at this point. I mean, we don't know what else to do.
No, I understand. I'm just trying to understand your logic.
Yeah. I mean, our logic is what we're trying to say to them on in as appropriate way as we can, is to say, this is our property and you are not wanted here. We don't want you to be here. We've asked you not to be here, and we don't want to make it convenient for you to be here. This is really out of desperation at this point.
Kevin, does this require zoning approval?
I believe the fence meets the 6-foot height limitation for the district. And no, it would not. If it's on the property line, they're entitled to put up a fence, just subject to your review and approval.
Okay. I just have history of bad neighbors, so I appreciate where this gentleman's coming from. So I would be in favor of this application. That's just my opinion.
The back of your property, where it looks like there's like a walkway or some type of, it looks like the Land Rover parks cars on there, I'm looking at the Google satellite image right now. Is that on your property where it's like it's either stone or brick?
Yeah, that's our property.
And
Exactly. So there must be 10 vehicles, I'm guessing right now, but there's a couple of rows of new Land Rover cars that are parked on our property. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that
The fence that
paver
you-
area is our property.
The L-shaped sort of pod in the back, right?
Yes,
Okay.
that's ours.
Near where the ironworks is.
And so the fence that you're proposing would go across the paver area between your property line and the Land Rover property.
I mean, it would be on our property line. It would be exactly on our property
Right,
line.
Yeah. It's not just the grassy area, it's also going across that paver area,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
essentially sealing off your property from their property.
Yes.
And I'm assuming, have you gone the route of, contacting the police and towing? Like, I feel like a tow truck company would have a field day with this opportunity.
Right.
Well,
I just feel like you're going through an awful lot of expense for maybe another solution before you'd spend all this money. I don't know.
And
The
is it
problem
really
with
going to stop
towing
them
is
from walking around?
and it's, we're just trying to come up with a solution that hopefully exhausts this once and for all. I mean, that we've spoken to the owners of the dealership. They're deaf. They're deaf to our.
No, I just feel,
And
again, I'm in favor of the application, but I feel like you're spending money
Yeah.
that you may be back here in the future with another alternative because they may just walk around your fence.
I think they're gonna.
well,
walk
I mean,
that fence.
I'm hoping that that this fence will hopefully solve the situation, and we're hoping that this fence, in a nice and appropriate way, solves the situation. I mean, we're trying to be adults here, and we're hoping that they'll act in an adult fashion as well.
I think another thing you should do is consider putting a sign up saying Land Rover employee and whatever cars are not.
We have
parked.
signs, we have signs up on all over the property. We've had them up for at least 6 to 8 months. I spoke to the Radnor Township Police. I told them the copy that we were putting on the signs, and they said that was fine. They said that the property is private, so they can't really weigh in on it. So we have signs up all over the property currently saying that if you park your car on our property and you leave your car on our property, it will be towed. They walk right by the sign. They don't care. And we might be forced to tow them, but I'm hoping that the fence, that to me is like an extreme aggressive kind of move that we would prefer not to take. We're hoping the fence kind of reinforces what we're thinking every day to them. Park on your own land or park somewhere else, but don't park on our property anymore. That's what we're trying to be as appropriate and as least aggressive as we can. And yes, you're right, it's going to cost us money, but we have to, what else can we do? We have to make sure that we take care of our tenants. This is their livelihoods. This is how they feed their families.
Well, and you're also trying to do it in a way that, quite frankly, is least aggressive method for you in more of a passive way, because the people that you're trying to keep from parking on there are also potential, customers of your tenants. I imagine
they're not. Unfortunately, they're not. They don't go to our shopping center. They all brown bag it and they sit to the dealership, and they don't come to our center. So that we've already investigated that, and they don't.
All right, well, I guess the issue at hand is the fence, and I don't have a problem with it. I guess if they need to do it, it's their dime, and it's legal under the code, and it's a way hopefully to stop the situation that they've got going on. So I don't know if everybody's in agreement with that. If they are, we'll ask Jane to make a motion for approval, unless there's other further comments or questions.
I don't think it's going to work, but I think you have a right to do it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to work either, but they have a right to do it.
Okay. Colin, you're all right?
Good luck.
Yeah, Bob, I'm good.
Okay. All right, Jane, you want to make a motion for approval?
Okay. Motion to approve application 2021-32, 309 to 323 East Lancaster Avenue for Baker Properties to install a fence along its property line with the Land Rover dealership.
Here a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, well, good luck. Hopefully that stops them from parking there.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
and thank you all for your time tonight. Thank you for your kindness and consideration. It's great to be able to speak to people who have kindness in their heart. It's been a long haul with people who, unfortunately, our neighbors there don't have any kindness in their heart.
Okay, well, great. Good luck.
Good luck.
All righty.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, next is DRB 2021-33, the application of Philadelphia Print Shop at 106 East Lancaster Avenue in Wayne for 2 signs in the front of the building and 1 sign in the back of the building. And with us is David.
Hey, thanks, Bob. Thank you. Good evening. My name is David Mackey. For some reason, it shows up as David Markey there. That's probably my bad. I don't know how I signed in. I don't know. But it's really with a C. But I'll fix that next time if I have to come back for any reason. But yeah, just here, most of you may be familiar. We were down at 209 West Lancaster in the back of the old State Store since October. The building was recently leased and we needed to relocate. We wanted to stay in Wayne, and we're leasing the lower level of the former Belladonna Boutique, owned by Cass Holloway, who developed the retail space and the condominiums above it about 10 or 12 years ago. And if you look at the picture on the first page of the presentation, I presume you have that. I'm taking the left side door as my Lancaster Avenue entrance. There's 2 separate condominiums, the main level, commercial condominiums, the main level and the lower level. So I believe the lower level, which you might know has an entrance back on School Lane as well, and we can talk about that next, but this is just to delineate, that's my entrance door. And so the idea is that the sign would be centered above the door. It's not easily shown exactly correct, in a Photoshop, but it's to be centered over the door, above the soldier course of brick, and below that little emergency light, the little, tan colored light above it. And it would be, 12 inches high and 66 wide as proposed.
Okay, as a board, why don't we look at that sign first? Any comments on that? Pretty cut and dry.
And because it's a lower level, I just wanted to add that the sign company suggested, I wish it was my idea, but they came up with this, I thought, clever idea to say, step down into history with a little directional arrow to kind of, reinforce the fact that it's on the lower level. I don't think to date there's been a separate tenant downstairs, so this would be helpful, help us, bring folks in from the Lancaster Avenue from the level there.
I don't have any problem with it. I think it looks pretty good, and it's
Fine.
small and clever idea, so.
Sure.
Jane, Tim, what do you guys think?
Fine with it.
Technically, it's not actually, I don't know if it actually comports with the code, but it's so small and clever. I like it.
Yeah, it's basically a directional type sign, and yeah, it's kind of cute idea, so.
Yeah.
Great. And then just if you don't have any further questions, the second sheet is just the entrance, the rear entrance on the left side of the brick facade in the rear of the building on School Lane. And that sign that's shown there is actually the sign that we had on the building at 209 West Lancaster for the last 6 or 8 months. And, I met with the owner of the building a couple of times, and we looked at centering it over the, let's say, between the doors above the window. But his thought was it would be better shifted to the left so that the to be determined tenant for the upstairs, who would have that right side entry, would have an opportunity to put an appropriately sized sign, secondary sign, or a awning above that door.
Is the window part of your space?
Yes,
That makes sense then.
yeah, all of it, actually.
And the door on the right leads to the second floor tenant space.
Only to the second floor, yes.
Okay, yeah, I think it looks good.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah,
Great, thank you.
I guess the only comment, David, just make sure your installer uses hidden fasteners. We don't want to see any bolts or anything like that.
All right, we did that last time, and I fully understand that.
Okay, good.
Hey,
Good.
Bob, I'm sorry I got interrupted by my daughter, but the sign on the front facade, the 66 inches, it projects over the neighboring tenant's window. Did you guys touch on that? Are you guys good with that?
We did. I can just interject that my first or prior draft showed the Philadelphia being on one line and the print shop being on the second line, but then it was too deep and it covered up that soldier brick. So it was the owner's preference to have it on one line such that it fits above the soldier brick and below that white, even though it bleeds a little bit, into the quote, other space.
All right, fine.
But he felt that even with 66, the remaining piece was adequate, more than adequate for the new tenant to have an appropriate sign or awning there.
Okay.
So he was fine with it as long as I centered it over the door.
You all right with that, Colin?
Yeah, I understand. I was just making sure everyone was on the same page.
Good, good. All right. Any other comments or questions from the board? Or David, Mr. Holloway, any questions, comments?
I have one comment. I believe Dave's drawing for his, I don't have it up in front of me. There's a gutter to the left of the door. There's a downspout, I'm sorry, to the left of the door adjacent to the neighboring building. And we believe that the 66-inch sign can be moved over to the left, and it will not encroach over the window on the window line of the upstairs space.
Yeah, I was actually going to suggest that you could shift it closer to the downspout to
Yes.
possibly
And
avoid the window a little bit.
It'll actually look like it's centered right over the door. So
Yeah.
That's
that-
good.
Good.
That's the intent. Thank you.
Okay, David, you're okay with that, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, great.
All right, thank you all.
Okay, I guess it's Tim's turn. If you're Tim, you'd like to take this one?
Matter of DRB 2021-33, the application of Philadelphia Print Shop to install 2 signs on Lancaster Avenue and relocate 1 sign in the back of the building. I move for contingent approval of the application based upon the moving of the wall sign on the above the door on the front side of the building to the left towards the neighboring property, such that it does no longer hang over the window. Subject to that condition, I move to approve.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, David.
Thanks again. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Mr. Holloway. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, you bet. Thank you. All right, last on the agenda tonight is DRB 2021-34, the application of Villanova University at 800 Lancaster Avenue in Villanova for some roof screening. And it looks like we have Mr. Matthews with us.
Yes, good evening. Can you hear me?
Okay, why don't you walk us through and tell us a little bit what you have in mind here for the university?
Okay, so we have the 4, what we call the sister dorms on South Campus, the 4 dorms that you see on the plan. And the intent is to improve the ventilation within the buildings with the addition of these rooftop units that provide direct outside air. The units will sit on the roof, and we need to provide the appropriate screening, and therefore we're before the board looking for approval of the screening.
So the screening material is made of what?
It'll probably be an aluminum material, but it is yet to be finalized. The documents that we will go out to bid with allow 3 vendors to provide the screen material. The representation you have shows that there are slats that allow air to pass through to get the full ventilation of the unit. We'd like it to be consistent with the existing roof screening, which is a dark gray material. So that's the color that we're asking for.
I know years ago, you guys came in to screen on top of the Jake Nevin Fieldhouse, I believe. But I think back then it was maybe, I can't remember exactly, but I think it was more of a fabric type material, but correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm not familiar with that.
Going back a long time.
Yeah, so I'm not familiar with that. This will not be fabric. This will be some sort of metal, either aluminum or powder coated steel. And each of the manufacturers will propose or provide their specific screen material. If you'll notice from the drawings, the screening comes from the manufacturer. So it's actually mounted to the rooftop unit itself.
Okay. You know, now that I think about it, I think the issue at the Jake Nevin Fieldhouse was all the cell towers years ago that were popping up. And I guess they wanted to screen them to kind of hide the look, and it had to be something where the waves, I guess, could go through the material. And yeah, that was
Yes.
there.
I have been up on Jake Nevin and seen that screening. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this naturally is a different purpose tonight. So, okay. Well, I don't have any problem with it. I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but certainly entertain comments and questions. So.
Yeah, I have a few questions. The units, the rooftop units, right now you're proposing to have it screened on 3 sides instead of all 4, right?
That's correct.
Which side will be open?
The interior facing. So originally the units were positioned so that the maintenance side was facing the edge of the roof, which meant we would have to leave that side open, and obviously we don't want to do that. We want to screen it. So we rotated the units and now have screening on 3 sides, so access will be from the interior side of the roof.
When you're saying the interior side, just so that I can be sure that I understand what you mean, I know you have properties neighboring the back side of these 4 dorms. Is it going to be screened towards the neighbors?
So
Beside
the
just
units
neighbor
that are
property.
on neighbor side will be screened facing the neighbors. Those units will have access, so as I said, sort of from the center of the roof. So yes, they will. To answer your question, they will be screened from the neighbors.
And what about sound? What type of sound noise levels are going to be generated by these units?
I don't have the equipment to know the exact sound. I don't know.
And they won't be sized to be, in my opinion, they won't be sized where the neighbors will hear them at all.
That's really, I'm just checking for the neighbor's sake. To see if it's going to make a noise, if there's a way that whatever way we're going to use the screening here, if there's a way that we can mitigate the noise. But if it's not going to have an impact on the neighbors, then I'm fine with it as it is.
I don't think they're not sound mitigation screens at all, are they?
No, but the fans on these units direct up, so the sound from the fan should go directly up.
Okay. And just a question, is the screening a preference by the university?
The screening's a requirement of the township.
Oh, okay, thank you. I wasn't aware of that.
Yes. And you have to screen from your neighbors, so they're designed to appropriately screen from the neighbors.
Okay. Jane, any comments or questions?
No, I was the same concern of screening from the neighbors.
Okay, good. All right, Mr. Matthews, any questions or comments for the board?
No, unless you have something for me.
Okay, Kevin, is there anything else we should know about this application?
No, I think it is as straightforward as it is appearing.
Okay, good. All right, guess I've kind of lost track. Is it Jane's turn for a motion for approval?
Might be.
Going in order. Okay, thanks.
All right. So I motion to approve DRB 2021-34 Villanova University for dorms, new ventilation unit screening on the 4 dorms on its south campus. The screens will face the neighbors, and they will be constructed of metal, either aluminum or power coated steel.
Great. We're
Is that about
second.
right?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Great. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for your
Thank
time.
you. Thank you very much. Okay, looks like this is going to conclude our meeting for tonight, unless there's any further comments from our board.
Hey, Kevin, there's the screening question. Is that a certain height within the township, or is?
I don't know, I'm not sure. I'd have to take a look at the ordinance provisions. I don't have that.
I can look myself. I'm just more curious.
Okay.
I wonder if there's going to be screening for these generators, residential generators that are popping up everywhere in the township. Sometimes they're put really close to property lines.
Yeah,
There's no
there are
screening.
setbacks for those. We don't
Oh, no,
have.
just setbacks, but not screening. Okay.
Okay. One thing I'll mention, our next meeting is June 9th. And with summer coming up and vacations, if you know your vacation schedule and it's going to interfere with you attending a meeting, let Lisa know. So just to make sure we have a quorum. So just keep that in mind. So
I know I'll be.
Any trips?
Okay, all
I
right.
know I'll be unavailable for August, so I'll
Okay.
let Lisa know.
Okay, Tim, any time off the top of your head when you may be out of town?
As of right now, I'm clear for all of these ones coming up in the summer.
Okay, all right, good. All right, terrific. So it looks like that's going to wrap it up. Thank you, Lisa and Kevin and Ian, and thank you to the board, and we'll see you next month.
Thank you,
All right,
board.
have a good one.
Bye.
Thanks.
Have a good night.
Thanks a lot.